You are sitting in your car. The engine is off. The garage is dark. And you are terrified to go inside. You're gripping the steering wheel so hard your knuckles are white. Not because you're angry, but because you are losing. Maybe the business deal fell through. Maybe the promotion went to the guy who plays politics better than you. Maybe the numbers just aren't adding up, and you can feel the walls of your empire starting to crack. You feel small. You feel human. And in this moment of weakness, you make the single most fatal calculation of your entire life. You think, at least I have her. You tell yourself that she is your sanctuary. You tell yourself that the world outside is a war zone. But inside that house, inside that relationship, there is peace. You think you can walk through that door, drop the heavy armor you've been wearing for 12 hours, and finally breathe. You think you can be vulnerable. You think you can tell her, I'm scared. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Stop. Look at that thought. Really look at it. Because that thought is the exact moment you began to die. You open the car door. You walk inside. You find her. She asks how your day was. And instead of giving the standard, stoic answer, instead of maintaining the frame of the conquering king, you bleed. You let it all spill out. You tell her about the boss who undermined you. You tell her about the client who walked away. You let your shoulders slump. You let your voice crack, just a little. You look at her with eyes that are begging for reassurance. You are looking for a mother. You are looking for a savior. And then you see it. It's micro. If you weren't paying attention, you would have missed it. But you saw it. It was a flicker in her eyes. It wasn't sympathy. It wasn't love. It wasn't the warm, maternal embrace you had hallucinated in the car. It was a recoil. A subtle, almost imperceptible step backward. Her face didn't soften, it went blank. A mask of polite detachment slid over her. Features. She says the right words, I'm sorry, or that sucks, but the tone is flat. It's the tone you use with a stranger who is complaining too loudly in a coffee shop. In that split second, the dynamic shifted. The tectonic plates of your relationship ground against each other and caused an earthquake you won't feel until the roof caves in. You just violated the first rule of power. You appeared desperate. Even when you are losing, especially when you are losing, the appearance of control is the only thing standing between you and total collapse. But you didn't just lose control of the situation at work. You surrendered control of your emotional state to her. You placed your self-worth in her hands and asked her to hold it because it was too heavy for you. And she despised you for it. This is the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to admit at dinner parties. We are sold a fairy tale that says a partnership is 50-50, that you can be weak and she will be your strength. Wrong. Biology does not care about your modern sensitivities. Deep down, in the reptilian brain that governs attraction, she does not want a dependent. She wants a provider. She wants a protector. And a protector cannot be the one crying in the kitchen because the world was mean to him. The moment she sees you panicked, the moment she smells the fear on you, her biological imperative screams, this man cannot keep me safe. And here is where the spiral begins. You feel her pull away. You feel the coldness in bed that night. She turns her back to you. She's on her phone a little longer than usual. And because you are already in a state of deficit, because you are already feeling like a loser professionally, her withdrawal triggers a panic response in you. You start to chase. You ask, what's wrong? You try to touch her, but your touch is needy. It's clammy. It's grasping. You are no longer the prize. You are the beggar at the gate of her affection. You start over-explaining your failure at work, trying to justify why you're still a good bet. You start buying flowers not because you love her, but because you are trying to buy back her respect. You start texting her from the office, not to check in, but to make sure she's still there. You have lost focus. Your career is burning down. Your mission is critical. Your financial future is on the line. And where is your mind? It's not on the strategy. It's not on the solution. It's on her. You are sitting in meetings, staring at a spreadsheet, but you are wondering why she took 3 hours to reply to your text. You are supposed to be building a legacy, but you are consumed by the anxiety of her drifting attention. Do you see the irony? The more you obsess over keeping her, the more you neglect the very mission that made you attractive in the first place. You are abandoning your post to guard a woman who is already looking for the exit. You think you are fighting for love. You aren't. You are displaying the highest form of desperation, the willingness to sacrifice your purpose for approval. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that dries up a woman's attraction faster than a man who puts her above his own ambition. You are creating a vacuum. You have stopped being the source of gravity in your own life. You have become a satellite orbiting her moods. And nature abhors a vacuum. When you stop occupying the space of the king, when you stop radiating that calm, dangerous competence, you leave a space open. And someone else is going to fill it. You might not know his name yet. You might not know his face. But he is out there. He is the guy who isn't complaining about his bad day. He is the guy who isn't texting her back instantly because he is too busy crushing his goals. He is the guy who possesses the one thing you just gave away, the mystery of invulnerability. This is not about being an emotionless robot. This is about the Machiavellian reality of perception. As Machiavelli warned, the prince must be seen as strong, even when the treasury is empty. The moment the people see the prince trembling, the rebellion begins. You trembled. You showed the crack in the armor. And now, you are going to pay the price. Not just with your career, which is suffering because you're distracted by this relationship drama, but with the relationship itself. You are losing on both fronts because you refuse to hold the line. You wanted to be human. You wanted to be understood. But in the ruthless calculus of attraction, you just signaled that you are ready to be replaced. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't wake up one morning and decide to burn your life's work to the ground. It happens in inches. It happens in the quiet, seemingly harmless decisions you make 100 times a day. It happens when you stop looking at the horizon and start staring at your phone. You're at your desk. You have a critical deadline. This is the work that builds the empire. This is the work that puts food on the table and separates you from the mediocrity of the masses. You are 5 minutes into a deep focus state. You are solving problems. You are being a man of purpose. And then, the vibration. It's just a text, a meme, a complaint about her coworker, a question about dinner. It is trivial. In the grand scheme of your legacy, it is dust. But what do? You stop. You break your flow. You pick up the device. You read it. You type a response. You add an emoji to make sure she knows you're not mad. You hit send. You put the phone down. And then you try to rev the engine of your mind back up. But the momentum is gone. It takes you 15 minutes to get back to where you were. And 10 minutes later, she replies. And you do it all over again. You tell yourself, I'm just being attentive. I'm being a good partner. Wrong. You are signaling that your mission is secondary to her boredom. You are teaching her, text by text, that your time has no value. You are demonstrating that you can be interrupted. You are showing her that your attention is cheap, that it can be bought with a low-effort vibration in your pocket. A king does not interrupt a war council to discuss what kind of pizza to order. But you do. You interrupt your war constantly. And then the slide gets steeper. Remember who you were when she met you? You were busy. You were unavailable. You had the gym at 6 p.m. sharp. You had boys' night on Fridays. You had Sunday mornings reserved for your side hustle. You had a structure that served you. That structure was attractive. It showed discipline. It showed self-respect. Where is that structure now? You skipped the gym on Tuesday because she had a bad day and needed you. You skipped it on Thursday because she wanted to try that new restaurant. Now, you're softer. You're slower. The physical edge is dulling. You canceled boys' night because she made a face when you mentioned it. You didn't want the conflict. You wanted peace. So you stayed home. You sat on the couch. You watched a show you hate. You thought you were buying intimacy. You weren't. You were paying a tax on your own castration. You stopped the side hustle because she complained that you worked too much. She said, "We never spend quality time together." So you closed the laptop. You let the project die. You traded your financial freedom for her temporary approval. And look at the dynamic now. You are always there. You are always available. You are always waiting. You have become the nice guy. You have become the safe option. You have become a piece of furniture in her life, reliable, stationary, and completely unexciting. You think you are securing the relationship by making her the center of your universe. But you are violating the fundamental law of desire. We want what we cannot fully control. By giving her total control over your time and attention, you have removed the variable of uncertainty. You have become a solved puzzle. And once a puzzle is solved, it goes back in the box. Meanwhile, at work, the cracks are widening. You missed that email because you were arguing with her over text about something you said 3 years ago. You showed up to the meeting unprepared because you spent the morning trying to calm her anxiety instead of prepping your pitch. Your boss looks at you, and he doesn't see the hungry wolf he hired. He sees a distracted sheep. He sees a man who is compromised. You are losing your professional edge. And the terrifying part? She notices. She notices that you talk about work with fear now, not ambition. She notices that you aren't crushing it anymore. You're just surviving. She sees you stressing over bills that wouldn't be a problem if you had kept your focus. She sees the lack of drive. And here is the twist of the knife. She blames you for it. She doesn't say, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry I distracted you from your greatness." No. She looks at your stagnation and she feels contempt. She wonders why you aren't the winner she thought you were. She starts to think she's settled. She starts to look at the guy who is winning, the guy who ignores his phone, the guy who stays late at the office, the guy who has a mission, and she feels a pull. You sacrificed your mission to keep her. Now, because you have no mission, you're going to lose her. You are doing everything right, according to the modern script of romance. You are sensitive, available, compromising, and present. And it is killing you. It is rotting your potential from the inside out. You have become a satellite with no planet, spinning aimlessly in the dark, waiting for a gravity that is slowly drifting away to find a heavier star. You have deviated from the path, and the forest is getting dark. You are exhausted. You feel like you have been running a marathon in soft sand. Your legs are heavy, your mind is fogged, and your bank account is bleeding. You have poured every ounce of your energy into this black hole. You have compromised, you have apologized, you have accommodated. And you are sitting there, staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., realizing the math doesn't work. You thought this was a transaction, a fair exchange. You thought that if you deposited enough kindness coins into the relationship bank, you could withdraw loyalty and affection. You thought that by sacrificing your dignity, you were buying insurance against her leaving. But the account is overdrawn. Here is the gut punch realization that makes you want to vomit. The harder you try, the more she looks at you with that dull, glazed-over expression of pity. Or worse, boredom. You plan the perfect date. You make the reservation at the place she mentioned 3 months ago. You wear the shirt she likes. You spend the entire dinner asking about her feelings, her day, her dreams. You are the perfect attentive partner. You are leaning in. You are present. And she is checking her watch. She is polite. She smiles. But there is no fire. There is no tension. It feels like she is having dinner with her brother. Why? Because value is determined by scarcity, and you have flooded the market. You have made yourself so abundant, so easily accessible, that your stock has crashed. You are the penny stock of men. You are available in bulk for free. And while you are doing all this work to save the relationship, you are painfully aware of a different reality. You remember how she talked about her ex. Or maybe you see how she looks at that guy at the party, the one who barely acknowledged her. Let's talk about him. The one you hate. The one you call an asshole. He didn't buy her flowers. He didn't text her back immediately. He didn't ask her permission to go out with his friends. When she started drama, he didn't apologize. He laughed and walked away. He focused on his mission. He was arrogant. He was selfish. And she was obsessed with him. She cried over him. She fought for him. She tried to earn his approval. This burns you. It feels unjust. It feels like the universe is broken. You are the good man. You are the one doing everything right. Why are you the one losing? Because you have misunderstood the currency of desire. You think you are showing her love. She sees it as tribute. When a conquered nation pays tribute to an emperor, the emperor does not love the nation. He expects the payment. It is his due. And if the nation pays more tribute than asked, the emperor does not think, "Wow, how generous." He thinks, "They must be terrified of me." Your extra effort is not read as romance. It is read as fear. Every time you send that double text explainograph, fear. Every time you ask, "Are we okay?" Fear. Every time you let her change your plans, fear. She can smell it. It reeks. It is the scent of a man who knows he is not enough. A man who knows, deep down, that he is lucky to be there. And nothing kills attraction faster than the realization that I am the best he can do. If you were truly a king, if you were truly a man of high value, you wouldn't need to buy her affection with constant servicing. You would know that you are the prize. You would know that your presence alone is the gift. But you don't believe that. And because you don't believe it, she can't believe it. This is the paradox of investment. In business, you invest to get a return. In dark psychology, whoever invests the most holds the least power. You have invested everything. You have nothing left in reserve. You have showed your entire hand. You are all in. And she is sitting there with a full stack of chips, looking at her cards, wondering if she should fold just to see what's happening at the other table. The other table where the players are high stakes, where the men are dangerous, where the outcome isn't guaranteed. You have made yourself safe. You have become this safety net. Do you know what people do with safety nets? They only use them when they fall. They don't admire the net. They don't dream about the net. They resent the net because it reminds them of their failure. You are training her to treat you like an employee. You are working overtime, hoping for a bonus, but you don't realize she's already interviewing your replacement. And the replacement isn't going to work this hard. He won't have to, because he won't be desperate. You are drowning in your own effort, and she is watching from the shore, dry and indifferent. And the water is filling your lungs. Niccolo Machiavelli wasn't writing about dating. He wasn't writing for men trying to save a failing relationship. He was writing for princes who would be murdered in their sleep if they showed a single second of weakness. but the dynamic is exactly the same. In The Prince, Machiavelli introduces a concept that the modern world hates. He writes that for a leader, it is not necessary to actually have all the virtues, to be merciful, faithful, humane, upright, and religious. But it is indispensable to appear to have them. This is the concept of simulacra, the simulation, the mask. You have been fed a poison pill by modern society. You have been told that vulnerability is strength. You have been told that a real relationship is about taking off the mask and showing your partner your deepest insecurities, your darkest fears, your trembling inner child. Wrong. That advice applies to a therapist's office. It does not apply to the throne room. And make no mistake, when you are a man building a life, you are sitting on a throne. Machiavelli understood that the masses and your partner is the audience to your performance, judged by the eye, not by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few feel what you really are. When you came home and unloaded your fear onto her, you thought you were building intimacy. You thought, I am showing her the real me. But here is the dark psychological truth. She doesn't want the real you if the real you is a terrified little boy. She wants the simulacrum. She wants the projected reality of the captain who can steer the ship through the storm without flinching. Think of a pilot. The plane is going down. The engines are on fire. Do you want the pilot to come over the intercom and scream, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I need a hug. No. You want the voice that is calm. Still, even if he knows we are all going to die, you need him to appear as if he has the solution. When you panic, you abdicate the role of the pilot. This is why she recoiled. She looked at the cockpit, and she saw the pilot crying. The Machiavellian foundation is this: perception creates reality. If you appear unfazed by the chaos at your job, she believes you are capable of handling it. Her anxiety drops. Her attraction holds. She feels safe. If you appear crushed by the pressure, she believes the ship is sinking. Her anxiety spikes. Her attraction vanishes. She looks for a parachute. You violated the rule of the mask. You let the internal chaos bleed into the external presentation. This isn't about lying. It isn't about being fake. It is about emotional discipline. It is about compartmentalization. A man who understands power knows that his fear is his own private burden to bear. You process it in the gym. You process it in silence. You process it with your mentors, men who are outside the castle walls. You do not process it with the woman who is looking to you for security. When you show her your desperation, you are forcing her to become the leader. You are handing her the burden of your emotional regulation. And here is the cruelest part of this mechanism. Women are naturally Machiavellian in their selection process. They are evolutionary gatekeepers. They are designed to test the mask. She will poke you. She will create drama. She will pull away. She is testing the structural integrity of your frame. She wants to know, is this man solid, or is it all an act? When you chased her, when you double-texted, when you begged, you failed the test. You proved that your frame is made of glass. You proved that your strength was just a fair-weather performance that collapsed the moment it rained. Machiavelli warned that a prince who relies entirely on the goodwill of others is ruined. You relied on her goodwill. You hoped her pity would save you. But pity is not a foundation for desire. Pity is what we feel for the wounded animal on the side of the road. We don't want to date the wounded animal. We want to put it out of its misery. You stripped yourself of the aura of power. You became predictable. You became mundane. You became human. And while being human is fine for friendship, it is fatal for authority. And do not doubt it. Attraction requires authority, not tyranny. Authority. The authority of a man who owns himself. You sold your authority for a moment of comfort, and now you are paying the tax. You didn't choose to be this way. You didn't wake up and decide, I think I'll be needy today. This is hardware. This is ancient code running on a modern machine, and it is glitching out in the worst possible way. Let's strip the romance away and look at the biology of what is happening to you. When you are under attack, when your career is failing, when the tribe, your company, is rejecting you, your cortisol spikes. Your brain goes into survival mode. You feel small. You feel hunted. And in that state of primal fear, the human animal seeks one thing above all else: safety. For millions of years, safety meant returning to the tribe. It meant returning to the hearth. It meant returning to the mother. And here is the trap you walked right into. You projected that mother archetype onto your girlfriend. You looked at her soft skin, her smell, her voice, and your reptile brain said, sanctuary. You wanted to curl up. You wanted to be held. You wanted to regress to a state where you didn't have to fight the tigers at the gate anymore. You wanted to be a child again, just for an hour. That is why you poured your heart out. That is why you looked at her with those puppy dog eyes. You were biologically seeking the dopamine hit of maternal reassurance to counteract the cortisol of your professional failure. But you forgot one critical biological fact. She is not your mother. She is your mate. And the biological programming of a mate is diametrically opposed to the programming of a mother. A mother is programmed to love the weak, the sick, the broken child. Her love is unconditional. It flows down to the one who needs it most. A mate is programmed to filter for strength. Her love is conditional. It flows up to the one who can provide survival value. When you triggered your I need a mommy subroutine, you simultaneously triggered her this is not a viable mate alarm. You are asking her to play two incompatible roles at the same time. You want her to be the sexually attracted lover and the nurturing caretaker of your wounded ego. It is impossible. The moment she has to wipe your nose, she forgets she ever wanted to tear your clothes off. It is a biological betrayal. You feel betrayed because she isn't comforting you. She feels betrayed because you turned out to be a dependent, not a partner. Deep down, there is a shadow truth about why you do this. It's not just about comfort. It's about laziness. Yes, laziness. It is emotionally exhausting to hold the frame. It is exhausting to be the rock. It is exhausting to smile when you want to scream. So, you try to outsource that emotional labor to her. You dump your emotional garbage in her lap and say, here, you sort this out. Make me feel better. You are using her. You are using her as an emotional tampon to stop the bleeding of your own insecurity. And you think this is opening up? No, this is abdication. And she feels the weight of it. She feels the heaviness of your need. It suffocates her. Every time you look at her with that desperate, please validate me expression, you are sucking energy out of the room. You are a vampire of reassurance. She doesn't want to carry you. She wants to walk beside you. Or, better yet, she wants to run to keep up with you. But you have stopped running. You have collapsed on the track and are reaching up, asking her to carry you across the finish line. And biology dictates that she cannot do that. If she carries you, you both get eaten by the predator. She needs to know that if the world ends tomorrow, you can handle it. When you show her that a bad meeting or a rude boss can shatter your emotional stability, you are proving that you cannot handle the world. So, her biology takes over. Her attraction dries up. It's not a choice she makes. She doesn't sit down and think, I will stop liking him now. It is a visceral, physical reaction. Her body rejects you. Her skin crawls when you touch her. She feels a sudden, overwhelming need for space. That distance she's creating? That's her instinct trying to get away from the sinking ship. And because you don't understand this, you think she's being cold. You think she's being cruel. You think, if she really loved me, she would support me. She would support you if you were injured in battle. If you were bleeding from a wound you got while fighting for the empire. But you aren't bleeding from battle. You are bleeding from self-pity. There is a massive difference between the warrior who comes home scarred but standing and the coward who comes home crying because the war was too hard. She will wash the wounds of the warrior. She will despise the tears of the coward. You have confused the two. And until you realize that your biological drive for safety is the enemy of her biological drive for a strong mate, you will keep triggering her disgust. There is a specific mechanism that destroys relationships, and you executed it perfectly. It is the unauthorized transfer of the crown. Think back to the first month. Who were you then? You were the guy she was trying to figure out. You were the guy who had plans. You were the guy who checked his phone after the gym, not during it. When she texted you, she waited. She watched the little bubbles appear and disappear, wondering what you were going to say. You were the prize. She was auditioning for a role in your life. You were the director, and she was hoping to get the part. That dynamic, that subtle, unspoken hierarchy where you were the one with the valuable real estate, is what made her stomach flip with excitement. But then, you started losing at work. You started feeling the pressure. And to compensate for feeling like a loser out there, you decided to become a winner in here. You decided to lock her down. So you took the crown off your head and you placed it on hers. You stopped being the director. You became the fan. You started treating her like a celebrity in her own home. You started watching her moods like a meteorologist tracking a hurricane. Is she happy? Is she bored? Does she still love me? You made her happiness your full-time job. And you think this is noble. You think this is what good boyfriends do. Wrong. This is what servants do. A king does not wake up and ask the queen, "How can I serve you today?" A king wakes up and builds the kingdom. The queen's safety and luxury are byproducts of his ambition, not the primary focus of his minute-to-minute existence. By making her the center of your world, you have forced her to look down at you. It is a geometric impossibility to look up to a man who is kneeling at your feet. And this is where the wandering eye begins. It doesn't start with lust for another man. It starts with boredom with you. When you make her the sole focus of your existence, you become heavy. Your love feels like a burden, not a gift. It feels like a spotlight that is always on her, demanding that she perform, demanding that she be happy so you can feel safe. She is suffocating under the weight of your attention. And because you are always there, always watching, always serving, you have lost the element of the other. You are no longer a separate entity with your own mysterious life. You are just an appendage. You are an extra limb she has to drag around. This leads to the king-to-peasant shift. A peasant is obsessed with the royals. He watches them. He talks about them. He lives for a glimpse of them. The royal does not think about the peasant. You have turned yourself into the peasant. You study her face for micro-expressions. You analyze her texts like they are scripture. You are obsessed with her state of being. And she is looking past you. She is looking for a peer. She is looking for another royal. She is looking for a man who has his own kingdom, his own wars, his own court. She wants to look across the room and see a man who doesn't need her permission to breathe. When you lose your focus on your career to focus on her, you are effectively telling her, "My kingdom is dead. I will just live in yours." That is not attractive. That is squatting. You are a squatter in her reality, and she is trying to evict you. She starts picking fights about nothing. Why? To get a reaction. To see if there is any king left in you. To see if you will stand up and say, enough. But you don't. You apologize. You try to fix it. You act like the servant trying not to get fired. And that is when she sees him. The guy at the bar who doesn't look at her. The guy at work who cuts the conversation short because he has to take a call. The guy who treats her like a normal human being, not a fragile deity. He has the crown. You gave yours away. And until you walk back into the throne room, pick that crown up off the floor and put it back on your own head, she will never respect you again. You cannot negotiate desire. You cannot beg for it. You can only command it. And you cannot command anything when you are on your knees. You have a ghost in your head. You know who I'm talking about. Maybe it's a specific guy, a co-worker she mentions too often, an ex she's just friends with. Or maybe it's just a phantom, a vague idea of the man she might meet. You stalk his Instagram. You look at his life. You compare the stats. I make more money than him. I'm in better shape than him. I treat her better than he ever could. You are doing the math of a logical man. You are listing features like you are selling a used car. But attraction is not a spec sheet. Here is the maddening reality you are refusing to accept. He doesn't have to be better than you. He doesn't have to be richer, smarter, or better looking. He just has to be less desperate. That is his superpower. That is the nuclear weapon he has pointed at your relationship. While you are hyperanalyzing every text she sends, he is forgetting to reply. While you are clearing your schedule to see her, he is telling her he's busy until Thursday. While you are asking her, what do you want to do? He is telling her, meet me here at 8. You look at him and you see an asshole. You see a guy who doesn't appreciate her. You think, I am the moral one here. I am the one who truly values her. Wrong. She looks at him and she sees freedom. She sees a man who is not owned. She sees a man whose happiness does not depend on her approval. And that terrifies her. It thrills her. It creates that sick, anxious knot in her stomach that she mistakes for butterflies. You don't give her butterflies anymore. You give her warm milk. You are safe, predictable, and omnipresent. The competitor's shadow looms over you because he represents the unknown. He represents the risk. Let's look at the mechanics of why she cheats, or at least, why she emotionally drifts to him. It is rarely because he is a better person. It is because he offers emotional variance. With you, the emotional line is flat. It is a constant hum of, I love you, please love me back. It is monotonous. There are no spikes. There are no drops. It is the dial tone of a man who has surrendered. With him, it's a roller coaster. One day he's charming. The next day he's cold. One day he gives her attention. The next day he's focused on his own life. This inconsistency drives the dopamine loops in her brain crazy. It's the slot machine effect. If you pull the lever and win every time, the game is boring. You stop playing. But if you pull the lever and only win sometimes, you become addicted to the game. He is the slot machine. You are the ATM. You dispense validation on demand. He makes her work for it. And here is the darkest part of the dynamic. She respects his indifference more than she respects your devotion. Why? Because his indifference signals that he has other options. It signals that he has a mission that is more important than her. It signals that if she walks away, he will be fine. You have signaled that if she walks away, you will collapse. That places a tremendous burden on her. It makes her feel guilty. She looks at you and feels the weight of your emotional survival strapped to her back. And she resents it. She looks at him and she feels light. She feels no obligation. She just feels the chase. You are trying to out-nice the competition. You think, if he treats her like dirt and I treat her like a queen, I win. That is the logic of a Disney movie. In the real world, the man who treats her like a queen often gets treated like a jester. The man who treats her like a human being, flawed, replaceable, and not the center of the universe, gets treated like a king. The competitor isn't trying to impress her. That is why he is impressive. You are trying so hard to impress her that it smells like sweat. You are losing to a guy who isn't even playing the game. He is just living his life. And because he is centered in his own reality, he has a gravitational pull. You are decentered, orbiting her, so you have no gravity. You are weightless. So when she cheats, whether it's physically or just in those text messages she hides from you, she isn't looking for better. She is looking for heavy. She is looking for a man who has enough mass to stand still when she pushes him. You move every time she pushes. You apologize. You adjust. You fold. He stands still. And that is why she crashes into him. There is a scent. You can't smell it, but she can. It's not sweat. It's not cologne. It is the acrid, metallic stink of fear. You are walking around your own house like a bomb squad technician trying to defuse a nuclear warhead. You are tiptoeing. You are scanning for tripwires. You are terrified that one wrong move, one wrong word, one wrong glance will be the thing that finally makes her leave. And because you are shaking, because your hand is trembling as you hold the wire cutters, you are guaranteeing the explosion. This is the anxiety loop. It is the most efficient machine ever created for destroying attraction. Here is how it runs. You feel insecure because you are losing in your career. You project that insecurity onto the relationship. She's going to leave me because I'm a loser. You act weird. You hover. You ask, is everything okay? 14 times a day. She feels your anxiety. It makes her skin crawl. She pulls back to protect her own energy. You see her pull back. This confirms your fear. See? She is leaving. You grip tighter. You panic. She leaves. You created the outcome you were trying to prevent. You are the architect of your own abandonment. Let's look at the biology of this. Humans have mirror neurons. We are wired to feel what the person next to us is feeling. If you are walking with a man who is calm, you feel calm. If you are walking with a man who is jumpy, paranoid, and scanning the horizon for threats, your heart rate goes up. You don't feel safe. When you bring your anxiety into her presence, you are infecting her with cortisol. You are coming home from a day of failure, and instead of being the rock that breaks the waves, you are the water that is drowning her. You are looking at her with those wide, searching eyes, scanning her face for approval. Do you still love me? Why were you quiet at dinner? Who was that on the phone? Stop. Every question you ask is a withdrawal from the bank of respect. Every time you ask for reassurance, you are admitting that you do not have it internally. You are admitting that your self-worth is leaking and you need her to patch the hole. In the bedroom? That's where the anxiety loop goes to die. You can't seduce a woman when you are terrified of her rejection. You can't ravish her when you are wondering if she's only doing it out of pity. So the sex becomes tentative. It becomes mechanical. You are performing, not possessing. You are checking her reaction every 3 seconds to see if you're doing it right. There is nothing less sexy than a man who needs a permission slip to be a man. You have killed the polarity. In the physics of intimacy, attraction requires opposites. It requires a positive and a negative charge. Traditionally, the masculine energy creates the container, the structure, the certainty, the direction. The feminine energy fills that container with life, emotion, chaos, flow. When you are anxious, you have no structure. You are all chaos. You are all emotion. You have become the feminine pole, and nature demands balance. So if you are being the emotional, chaotic one, she is forced to become the rigid, cold, structural one. She has to put on the pants because you dropped them. She becomes cold. She becomes distant. She becomes logical. She starts treating you like a child she has to manage. And you hate it. You say, she's changed. She used to be so sweet. She didn't change. You forced her into a role she hates. She doesn't want to be your mother. She doesn't want to be your manager. She wants to be your woman. But she can't be your woman until you start being the man again. Machiavelli would tell you that it is better to be feared than loved. But above all, one must avoid being despised. Anxiety creates contempt. There is no way around it. When she sees you shrinking, when she sees you changing your opinion just to agree with her, when she sees you sacrificing your dignity to avoid an argument, she despises you. It's a visceral disgust. It's the same feeling you get when you see a leader who refuses to lead. You think you are being sensitive. You think you are fighting for the relationship. No, you are suffocating it with the pillow of your own neediness. You need to understand that your anxiety is a lie. It is a hallucination. The relationship might be in trouble, yes, but your behavior is the accelerant. You are pouring gasoline on the fire and wondering why it's getting hot. You have to break the loop. You have to stop checking the wire. You have to be willing to let the bomb go off. Because the irony is, the moment you stop caring if it explodes, the moment you accept that you can survive the explosion, your hand stops shaking. And when your hand stops shaking, she feels safe again. But as long as you are trembling, you are dangerous to her peace. And she will remove you to protect it. You want to paint her as the villain. It's so much easier that way. It feels good to tell your friends over a beer, she's crazy. She's ungrateful. She doesn't know a good thing when she has it. You want to be the martyr. You want to be the saint who was crucified on the cross of his own kindness. But we are here to tell the truth. And the truth is, you did this. You were not a bystander in your own execution. You handed her the gun. You loaded the bullets. You pointed it at your own chest. And then you begged her to pull the trigger by showing her, day after day, that you had no self-respect. You want to talk about betrayal? Let's talk about the betrayal of yourself. You betrayed the man you were supposed to be. You betrayed the potential inside you. You betrayed the mission. You took the vast, dangerous, exciting potential of your life, and you shrunk it down until it fit inside her pocket. And you call that love? That is not love. That is obsession. That is dependency. And frankly, it is incredibly selfish. Yes, selfish. You made the relationship all about your anxiety, your need for validation, your fear of being alone. You weren't thinking about what she needed, which was a strong partner. You were thinking about what you needed, which was a safety blanket. You became a burden. Think about the nights you spent grilling her about her feelings. Think about the times you pouted because she wanted to go out with her friends. You sucked the oxygen out of the room. You made it so that being around you was work. It was emotional heavy lifting. And here is the hardest pill to swallow. You bored her. You became the movie everyone has seen 1,000 times. There were no plot twists. There was no suspense. Just a guy, sitting on the couch, waiting to be told he's a good boy. Boredom is the precursor to betrayal. When a woman is bored, when she feels the stagnation of a life with a man who has lost his drive, her mind starts to wander. It searches for stimulation. It searches for friction. You smoothed out all the friction. You agreed with everything. You avoided every conflict. You thought you were creating peace, but you were creating a flat line. And living things do not want a flat line. You trained her to disrespect you. Every time you accepted a boundary violation, you taught her. Every time you apologized when you weren't wrong, you taught her. Every time you dropped your friends to see her, you taught her. You taught her that you were cheap. You taught her that your time is worthless. You taught her that no matter how badly she treats you, you will still be there, wagging your tail, hoping for a treat. And now you are shocked that she treats you like a doormat? You laid yourself down. You said, "Please, walk on me." And she did, because that is what people do when they are given permission to be tyrants. Machiavelli knew that human nature is ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous. He knew that if you rely on people's goodness, you will be destroyed. You relied on her goodness. You thought, if I am nice enough, she won't hurt me. That is the logic of a child. Adults know that people respect boundaries, not niceness. Adults know that people respect power, not pleading. You abdicated the throne. You left the seat of power empty. And you cannot blame her for looking at that empty chair and thinking, well, there's no king here. I might as well go find one. She didn't steal your masculinity. You gave it away. You wrapped it up in a box with a bow and handed it to her as a peace offering. And she looked at it with disgust because she didn't want your masculinity in a box. She wanted it in your spine. You are the accomplice to your own heartbreak. This isn't about blaming the victim. This is about realizing you were never the victim. You were the volunteer. You volunteered for this dynamic the moment you decided that her approval was more important than your own self-respect. You looked in the mirror and saw a man who wasn't enough. So you tried to hide behind her. And now that she's stepping aside, you're exposed. It hurts. Good. Let it hurt. Because that pain is the only thing real enough to wake you up. You broke the law of power, never appeared desperate. And the sentence is death. The death of the relationship. The death of your fantasy. But if you are smart, it can also be the death of the weak man who allowed this to happen. So here you are, standing at the edge of the cliff. You have two options. And let's be clear, this is a binary choice. There is no middle ground. There is no try a little harder. There is only life or death. Option A. You keep doing what you were doing. You keep checking your phone every 30 seconds. You keep apologizing for things you didn't do. You keep trying to talk it out with a woman who has lost respect for you. You stay in this pathetic, anxious loop, scraping for crumbs of affection. And I promise you this, she will leave. It is a mathematical certainty. She will leave, and she will tell her friends, he was just too much. She will pity you, and then she will forget you. Option B, you cut the cord. You accept, right now, in this second, that the relationship might be over. You accept that you might lose her. In fact, you assume she is already gone. And you embrace the only power you have left, the power of indifference. This is the Machiavellian pivot. This is the moment you stop playing the victim and start playing the prince. It starts with a radical shift in your attention. Stop looking at her. Stop watching her mood. Stop asking her what she's thinking. Turn your head. Look at the horizon. Look at the empire you neglected. Look at the body you let get soft. Look at the bank account you let stagnate. That is your new lover. That is your new obsession. When you go home today, you say nothing. You do not explain yourself. You do not announce, I'm changing. That's just more seeking approval. You just change. You go to the gym. You kill the workout. You come home. You shower. You work on your business. You read a book. She asks, what's wrong? You look at her, calm, unbothered, and say, nothing, just focused. And then, and this is critical, You go back to work. You do not engage in the drama. You do not feed the emotional monster. You starve it. This is not a game. This is not a tactic to get her back. If you are doing this to get her back, she will smell the fake on you, and it will fail. You have to actually be willing to walk away. There is a concept in negotiation. The person who cares the least wins. You have been caring the most. That is why you are losing. You need to reach a place of genuine, cold indifference regarding the outcome of this relationship. If she stays, good. If she goes, good. I am the prize either way. When you internalize this, a strange thing happens. The energy shifts. Suddenly, you are not the satellite orbiting her. You are the planet. You are heavy. You are dense with purpose. And she will feel it. She will feel the vacuum where your neediness used to be. She will reach out for that validation she's used to getting, and she will find air. And she will panic. Why isn't he chasing me? Why isn't he jealous? Who is he texting? For the first time in months, she will look at you and see a man. Not a fan. Not a servant. A man. A separate entity with his own life, his own goals, and his own secrets. She might get angry. She might test you. She might try to start a fight just to see if she can make you crumble again. Do not crumble. Stand still. Look at her with that Machiavellian mask, the half smile of a man who knows something she doesn't. And that something is this: you don't need her to survive. You thought you did. You thought she was your oxygen. But you were wrong. Your mission is your oxygen. Your purpose is your oxygen. A woman is a complement to a king's life, not the foundation of it. If she wants to join you in the castle, great. The gate is open. If she wants to leave, great. The gate is open. But the king stays on the throne. This is the only way to save the relationship. And more importantly, it is the only way to save yourself. You have to be willing to kill the relationship to save it. You have to be willing to lose her to keep her. It is a paradox. It is uncomfortable. It goes against every instinct in your terrified, needy heart. But your instincts have failed you. Your instincts led you here, to this moment of humiliation. Ignore your instincts. Follow the strategy. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your focus. Reclaim your dignity. Become the man she fell in love with. The man who didn't need her. The next time you feel the urge to beg, the urge to explain, the urge to lower yourself, stop. Remember who you are. Remember that desperation is the perfume of the dying. Wash it off. Stand up. Walk away from the need. And get back to work. The choice is yours. Be the beggar or be the king. Choose.